There's a photo on my mantle, gold frame, slightly tilted. The kind of tilt that bugs you but not enough to fix it. It's from 4 summers ago. Lake Tahoe. Me, Caroline, and her co-worker, Ryan, back then. Just a name in passing. In the picture, I'm in the middle. They're on either side of me, both smiling. I'm the only one looking at the camera. Caroline's laughing at something he just said, her face turned toward him. I never noticed that part until after everything went down. Back then, I was still that guy, a regular job, regular marriage, thought I knew what my life looked like 5 years down the road. One of those stable guys. The type who thinks predictability is a virtue, not a warning sign. Caroline used to call me her anchor. Said I kept her grounded. In hindsight, I should have asked why she needed to feel like she was floating away in the first place. We'd been married 7 years. Not perfect years, but good ones. We had routines, Taco Tuesdays, Saturday morning French press, folding laundry while watching reruns of The Office. That kind of life. The kind people envy until they realize how much dust can gather in comfort. She was in marketing. Bright, fast-talking, the kind of woman who could sell sand in a desert. I was in architecture, slow, measured, obsessed with symmetry. Looking back, we probably worked because I listened and she talked. That is, until she stopped talking. The first sign something was off wasn't a text message or a late night. It was that photo. One night, I came home late from a site check. Caroline was out with friends. I poured a drink, sat on the couch, and looked up at that picture. And for some reason, I couldn't stop staring at it. I saw it for what it was, not a moment captured, but a moment foreshadowed. The next morning, I asked her casually, "Hey, remember that Tahoe trip? Ryan was with us, right?" She didn't flinch. "Yeah, he's the one who booked the cabin." "Why?" "No reason," I said. "Just wondering who took the photo." She blinked. "Oh, I think his girlfriend did." "What was her name?" "Amanda?" "No, Alyssa." "Right," I said. "Alyssa." There never was an Alyssa. I didn't know it then, but I had just tugged on the corner of a thread that would unravel everything. 2 weeks after the photo moment, I noticed the cabinet door in our kitchen wouldn't close all the way. You know the one, top shelf, above the stove. It stuck out just enough to catch your eye, like it was trying to tell me something. And in the way a man tries to ignore things he's not ready to deal with, I closed it and walked away. But later that night, it was open again. Now, I'm not saying haunted. I'm saying careless. But Caroline? She wasn't careless. Especially not in that kitchen. That was her space. The one she micromanaged like Gordon Ramsay's second in command. I started noticing other small things. Her perfume was different. Stronger. Spicier. Less vanilla. More, "I'm going out." She claimed it was a free sample from Sephora. That made sense. Until I found a full-size bottle in the bathroom drawer with a note on the cap that said, "To my firecracker." Firecracker. She said it was from a female coworker as a joke. A girl power thing. Apparently, corporate girl boss humor is a whole language I didn't speak. At night, she started sleeping with her back to me. When I asked if she was okay, she said she was just tired. Work was insane. She said that word a lot, insane. Work was always insane. Her schedule was insane. Life was insane. Funny. She never called our marriage insane. The first real alarm bell rang one Thursday. I came home early from a canceled site meeting, one of those flukes you don't question until it saves you. Caroline's car was in the driveway, which was odd. She never got home before 6. I walked in. No music. No TV. Just silence. She wasn't in the kitchen. Not on the couch. I headed upstairs and heard water running. "Shower. Caroline." I called. No answer. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. Normally, I wouldn't have touched it. But this time, something made my hand move before my brain could vote. One name flashed up on the screen. Ryan. No last name. Just Ryan. Under it. "Miss you already." I put the phone back like it burned. A full 30 minutes passed before she stepped out, towel-wrapped and smiling like nothing in the world could touch her. "You're home early," she said, brushing damp hair behind her ear. "Yeah. Caught a break." She kissed my cheek. Water clung to her lips. "How was your day?" she asked, towel tightening around her chest. I looked at her. Really looked. And for the first time in years, I didn't recognize the woman standing in front of me. It's been enlightening. There's a moment between suspicion and confirmation that feels like standing on a frozen lake, listening for cracks. That's where I was. The floor hadn't broken yet, but the creaking was getting louder. Caroline had gone out with the team for a Thursday happy hour that, according to her, was just a few drinks at some rooftop bar downtown. I stayed home, pretending I had emails to answer. Truthfully, I was just watching the door and listening for ghosts. Around 10:47 p.m., she texted. Staying at Lexi's tonight. Too many margaritas. Don't worry. Love you. Now, I don't drink often, but I've had enough margaritas in my life to know they don't usually lead to spontaneous sleepovers with coworkers named Lexi. I sat with that text for an hour. Didn't respond. Didn't call. Instead, I opened the laptop I'd hidden behind my bookshelf. Yes, hidden. Because a man who senses betrayal also senses the need to build a quiet little war room. And in that war room, I'd started collecting things. Receipts. Phone records. IP logins from our shared Netflix account that placed her device at a location called the Indigo Hotel twice. I stared at the name. Then I did what every logical, emotionally bleeding man does when faced with reality. I got in my car. 11:41 p.m. The lobby smelled like citrus and apologies. I walked up to the desk like I was looking for redemption in a collared shirt. Hey, I said casually. My sister said she booked a room here with her friend, but she's not picking up. I just wanted to make sure she's checked in. Name's Caroline Morgan. The clerk typed. Nodded. Yes, sir. Room 814. Checked in around 8:30. There it was. My stomach didn't drop. My knees didn't buckle. Hollywood lied to us. Betrayal doesn't feel like a punch. It feels like being underwater and realizing you've stopped kicking. I left the lobby without a word. Got back in the car. Just sat there, staring at the wheel like it might give me directions. At 12:16 a.m., I texted her back. Be safe. Tell Lexi I said hi. The next morning, she came home wearing the same earrings from the night before and a new lie in her pocket. Morning, she said, brushing past me to pour coffee like nothing happened. How was Lexi's? I asked, keeping my eyes on the toaster. Oh, you know. Wine, rom-coms, terrible gossip. Sounds nice. She nodded. Took a sip. You okay? I smiled. I'm great, actually. Might do some organizing today. She looked up, suspicious. Organizing? Yeah. Thought I'd go through some drawers. Maybe clean out the closet. You know, tidy things up. For the first time, I saw the flicker behind her eyes. The briefest glance. Like a deer spotting headlights. And in that moment, I knew she knew. I knew. But we both kept playing our parts. Because sometimes, the curtain doesn't drop when the play ends. Sometimes, the actors just walk off stage, one at a time. I didn't confront her. Not then. That's the move amateurs make, that how could you? Speech, the begging for the truth that only confirms what you already know. I wasn't there to collect confessions. I was there to build leverage. Because here's something they never teach you in marriage counseling. Betrayal isn't just emotional, it's logistical. It's hidden bank statements, burner emails, and passwords that suddenly get changed. And if you're smart, if you breathe through the fire and think clearly enough, you can turn that betrayal into a blueprint. So I started watching. Closely. Caroline had a pattern. Mondays she came home early, her reset days. Wednesdays she was out with the girls, always running late. And Fridays, well, those were self-care nights. Facial mask, wine, phone on do not disturb. You know, the works. Meanwhile, I played the part of the dull husband with the late nights and predictable socks. I kissed her goodbye, paid the bills, and started quietly scanning every corner of our life like I was checking for termites. And wouldn't you know it? Found some. It started with the credit card statements. Not the regular ones, those I saw monthly. I'm talking about the second card. The one tied to her work expenses. Problem is, her job doesn't reimburse Uber rides at midnight or 2 dinners at the same bistro within 48 hours. Especially not for 2. One charge stood out. Room 814, the Indigo Hotel. Again. This time, it wasn't listed under her name. It was billed to our Connors. Ryan Connors. The same Ryan from our Tahoe trip. The same Ryan she swore was barely even at the office anymore. Right. So I dug deeper. Found his LinkedIn. Found out he'd recently changed jobs, no longer working with Caroline. But get this. His new office was in the same building. Different floor. Same elevator. Every morning, she dressed up a little nicer. New blazers. Tighter skirts. Lipstick and shades I hadn't seen since our honeymoon phase. She wasn't dressing for Zoom calls. She was dressing for floor 3. Still, I said nothing. But I made a copy of her work schedule, grabbed it off the fridge one morning when she was in the shower. Then I called in a favor from a guy I used to coach high school ball with, Johnny Carver, Now a private investigator who charges more for a tail job than most people pay in rent. He owed me. I covered his tuition when his financial aid got cut our senior year. I need eyes, I told him. No pictures. Just proof. On who? My wife. Silence. Damn. You sure? I nodded. I'm sure. Johnny did his job well. Too well, honestly. For days in, he delivered a manila envelope to my office. No dramatics, just slid it across the desk and said, "You got what you need." Inside were receipts, logs, and one particularly damning note scribbled on hotel letterhead in handwriting I recognized instantly. "Next time, don't rush out. I want all of you." R. I read it once. Then again. Then calmly folded it and slid it into the drawer beneath my father's old brass compass. He used to say the needle always pointed north, even when the world didn't. Funny how betrayal doesn't. I didn't cry. Didn't yell. I just sat back in my chair and started thinking in terms of strategy. I wasn't leaving. Not yet. See, Caroline and I had a prenup. She thought it protected her, and in some ways, it did. But the clause she didn't read closely enough? The infidelity clause. If proven, I'd walk with everything I came in with plus the house. You could almost hear the legal gears turning in my head. And I realized then, I didn't just want out. I wanted her to know I knew. I wanted her to feel the floor shift under her feet the way it had under mine. So, I staged it. The following Wednesday, one of her girls' nights, I left a note on her pillow. Short. Simple. I hope Ryan knows about the prenup. P.S. Room 814 says hi. I didn't wait around for the fallout. I booked myself into a hotel across town, the kind with a rooftop bar and no memories attached. I brought nothing but a duffel bag, my laptop, and the manila envelope. By 10 p.m., my phone buzzed. 13 missed calls. 4 voicemails. 17 texts. Each one more desperate than the last. "Logan, please. Where are you? We need to talk. It's not what you think. Don't throw this away over a mistake." Mistake. That word. The Swiss Army knife of cheaters. So versatile. So empty. She didn't call it love. She didn't call it a choice. Just a mistake. Like she left the stove on. Like she bought the wrong brand of coffee. At 11:07, I replied. "Check the drawer under the compass." Then I turned my phone off. Not because I was avoiding her, but because for the first time in months, I didn't need to hear anything else. I came home the next morning. Not because I missed her. Not because I forgave her. But because that house was mine and I was done letting a ghost in lipstick play hostess. She was in the kitchen, still in last night's dress, makeup smudged and eyes red like someone finally saw themselves clearly. She didn't say anything at first. Just stared, holding a coffee cup like it was a shield. "You read it," I said, walking past her. She nodded. "All of it." I placed my keys on the table. "Calm. Clean. Surgical." "Good," I said. "Now we can have a real conversation." She swallowed hard. "Logan, Stop." I held up a hand. "This isn't the part where you explain. It's the part where you listen." She blinked. Her voice cracked. "It was just one time." I actually laughed at that one. Not loud. Not cruel. Just enough to let the silence know it wasn't welcome anymore. "One time," I said. "You booked 3 rooms under 2 names. One time." She looked down. "Okay. It wasn't just once." "No kidding." I walked to the counter, poured myself a cup of the same coffee she used to bring me in bed. It tasted stale. Or maybe that was just me now, bitter by default. "Why him?" I asked. She hesitated. It wasn't really about him. It was about me. I felt forgotten. Like I was just your roommate with shared chores and a mortgage. "My bad," I said flatly. "I didn't realize loyalty had an expiration date." She winced. "That's not fair." "And cheating is?" She put the mug down, hard. "I was lonely, Logan." I stared at her. "I lived in the same house as you, slept in the same bed, shared dinners, talked every morning, and I was still lonely," I said. "So what's your excuse?" Silence. She tried to speak again, but I cut her off. "Here's the thing, Caroline. I don't care why anymore. I cared for months. I dug into timelines. I connected dots. I gaslit myself into thinking I was imagining things. I even blamed work. My stress. Your stress. Maybe we were just tired." I stepped closer. She didn't back away, but her eyes did. "But now?" "No. I'm past why. I'm in the stage they don't write songs about." "What stage is that?" she whispered. "The exit." She grabbed my arm, voice trembling. "Wait, don't make decisions like this in anger." "I'm not angry," I said, gently pulling away. I'm lucid. She backed up then, like the word hit harder than anything else I'd said. I've contacted a lawyer, I continued. I'm invoking the infidelity clause. I'm keeping the house. You have until next Friday to move out. You're kicking me out? I shrugged. Let's not act surprised. You knew what you signed. She shook her head, tearing up again. This isn't like you. You're not vindictive. You're right. I'm not. I took a long sip of coffee. But I am done. Then I set the cup down and walked upstairs. She didn't follow. Inside our bedroom, the one she desecrated with goodnight lies and shared showers I paid for, I packed a bag for work and sat on the edge of the bed. Just sat there, letting the silence breathe. Her perfume still lingered on the pillow. Vanilla and something sharp beneath it. It didn't smell like her anymore. It smelled like artifice. Like guilt with a floral twist. I pulled out my laptop and logged into the shared drive we used for household files. She didn't know I'd mirrored the backup, and within minutes, I had copies of her emails, financials, and an old draft of a letter she never sent to Ryan. You make me feel alive again. I didn't think I could ever want something this badly. Want. Not love. Not connection. Just want. It was never about building anything. It was about impulse. And here's the thing. Impulse doesn't survive structure. I emailed a copy of the letter to myself, labeled it character reference. Then I moved on to step 2 of the plan, public fallout. Now, I'm not one for petty theater, but I am one for well-timed exposure. And Caroline had a sister, Tessa, who never liked me. Always said I was too still. Said I didn't show enough emotion. That I was too calm. Perfect. I sent Tessa an email with a short message. Thought you should see what your sister's been busy with while I was paying her rent. Enjoy the poetry. Attached, the love letter, the hotel receipts, and the timestamped security footage Johnny had managed to snag from the Indigo lobby. It was all legal. All clean. All timed perfectly. Within an hour, Tessa had responded. Oh my God. I'm so sorry. I had no idea. She didn't. But now she did. And so would everyone else who ever thought our marriage was a Pinterest board of good lighting and baked brie. Caroline's friends started texting me by sundown. Some offered hollow condolences. Some offered things I won't repeat, because unlike Caroline, I don't reach for comfort with both hands when it's still married. By the time night fell, Caroline had locked herself in the guest room. She didn't cry loudly. She didn't beg. She just sat with the weight of consequences. Which is more than I got when I sat in that lobby, realizing I'd been traded in for someone with a gym membership and a good hairline. It wasn't about revenge. It was about evening the table. And the table? It was set. Funny thing about structure, once you design something well enough, it doesn't need to shout. It just holds. That's where I was now. Not screaming, not sulking, just holding. Holding my shape while Caroline unraveled like cheap thread. I started sleeping in the guest room. Not because I had to, but because I wanted her to wake up alone in that big master bed and hear the silence she built brick by brick. Let it echo. Let it sit. She tried to pretend for the first few days. Asked if I wanted to talk. Made coffee like the routine still mattered. But I just nod, sit politely, and walk out. The kind of quiet that makes people beg for noise. By day 4, her tone had shifted. Logan, she said one morning, still in a hoodie and mascara from 2 days ago, this doesn't have to be nuclear. I raised an eyebrow. Nuclear? I asked. I've barely gone tactical. She scoffed. So you're just going to punish me like this? Is that it? No, I said. This isn't punishment. This is clarity. That hit harder than any insult. Because for the first time in our marriage, I wasn't looking at her as a wife. I was looking at her like a failed investment. Something that promised growth, offered charm, and then quietly tanked behind the scenes while I kept pouring in the hours. But here's where things got interesting. Caroline still hadn't told Ryan I knew. I confirmed that through one of Johnny's little tech tricks, an invisible CC to an email she sent Ryan that week. Full of code words like delicate timing and just trust me. So I waited. And while she played cleanup in slow motion, I kept building my quiet little war room. See, Caroline and I co-owned a marketing consultancy. She'd been the face, all charisma and presentations. I'd been the back end, the analytics, the data, the pitch structure. She loved to say we made the perfect team. Turns out, even perfect teams need an escape hatch. And mine came in the form of a buy-sell clause we added to the LLC paperwork 2 years ago. It gave either party the right to initiate a buyout with just 30 days' notice, as long as documented breach of trust or misuse of company assets was proven. Guess what those hotel receipts counted as? Yep, misuse of corporate travel budget, especially when the Indigo bill was conveniently tagged as a client lunch. Johnny printed that one out like it was a diploma. I brought the paperwork to our lawyer, Franklin, an older guy with a voice like a worn leather chair and zero interest in small talk. "You really want to trigger this clause?" he asked, thumbing through the stack. "Frank," I said, "I want her out of my company as much as I want her out of my house." He didn't ask why. He just nodded. "Smart of you to wait," he said. "A lot of guys react. You built a timeline." I smiled faintly. "Architect, remember? I don't just tear things down. I draft what comes next." It was official by the end of the week. Caroline would be notified of the buyout proposal on Monday. She'd have the option to dispute it, but the evidence was airtight, and Franklin had already looped in a mediator. By Saturday, her mask was slipping. I came downstairs to find her on the phone, whispering urgently. "No, he hasn't said anything yet, but something's off. He's being too calm. That's what scares me." I didn't flinch. Just walked past her, opened the fridge, grabbed a bottle of water. She spun around like a guilty kid in a broken candy store. "Hey," she said, voice too sweet. "You doing okay?" "Peachy," I said. "You?" "Yeah, just working through stuff. I'll bet." She hesitated, then added, "Ryan says we should all just meet. Talk it out." I raised an eyebrow. "All?" She nodded. "You, me, him." I laughed once. Just one dry syllable that probably felt like thunder in her chest. "I don't do group therapy with side characters," I said. "Tell him to stay in his lane." She paled a little. "This isn't you." "No," I agreed, unscrewing the cap of the water. "This is the version of me you helped design. Congratulations. You wanted something less boring? You got it." The next day, Ryan emailed me. Not Caroline. Ryan. Subject line: "Let's handle this like men." Bold move, considering the last time he handled something, it was my wife in a hotel bathrobe. He wrote some condescending note about how emotions cloud judgment and how we all make mistakes. Said I should respect Caroline's autonomy. Autonomy. That was rich, coming from a guy who needed someone else's wife to feel important. I replied simply, "Ryan, thanks for the insight. You're welcome to Caroline's autonomy. Hope you enjoy it in the apartment she'll be moving into next week." Also, attached is a revised summary of the Indigo Hotel's transaction history. Might want to get your tax filings in order. Best, Logan. No response. That night, I got home late. Caroline was waiting at the kitchen table. Her suitcase was half-packed beside her. "I got your lawyer's notice," she said quietly. I nodded. "I figured you'd want the weekend to prepare." "I didn't think you'd actually go through with it," she whispered. I tilted my head. "You thought I'd what? Be the bigger man? Walk away quietly so you could keep the house, the business, the image?" She said nothing. I leaned on the counter. "Caroline, I spent years making sure you felt like the center of the world. And you repaid that with lies, hotels, and a guy who uses hair gel and motivational quotes." Still silence. "This isn't revenge," I added. "It's just math. Actions. Consequences. Balance." She finally looked up. "You used to love me." "I did," I said. "And then I didn't." Caroline moved out the following Friday. No fight, no screaming match, no final plea. She packed like someone walking out of a crime scene, carefully, silently, and with just enough shame to avoid eye contact. I didn't lift a finger. I didn't even watch her. I just sat on the back porch with a cup of coffee and let her memory walk itself out the front door. That night, I walked through the now quiet house like it was a museum of what used to be. I saw her everywhere, but not in the sentimental way. I saw the illusion, the performance of partnership. Her half of the closet, empty. Her favorite mug, gone. Her perfume no longer clinging to the air. It didn't hurt. It felt like breathing again after holding it for months. Monday came. The company was mine. She signed the buyout, hands shaking the whole time. She didn't even try to negotiate. Funny what a little leverage and a hotel receipt can do. Tessa, the sister who never liked me, texted me that night. "You didn't deserve any of that." "No kidding, Tessa. Took you long enough." Ryan, for his part, disappeared into the background. Word is, Caroline moved in with him temporarily, but it didn't last. Office gossip says he's taking time to focus on himself. Translation: even he realized Caroline was all fireworks and no foundation. But I wasn't done yet. Because see, there was one final card to play. And it came in the form of the dinner. A month after the divorce was finalized, I hosted a dinner at my house. Yes, my house. Just a handful of mutual friends, some from my side, some from hers. People who hadn't picked sides yet. People who still thought the whole thing was a mutual split due to growing apart. Nah, they deserved context. I waited until everyone was a few glasses in. Laughter had softened the room. Then I tapped my fork against my glass. Before dessert, I said, I want to share something. Everyone quieted down. Expectant smiles. Even a few curious eyebrows. I stood up and pulled out a sleek little folder, one of the many copies I'd made of Caroline's digital diary, the receipts, the letter, and my timeline. Just enough to outline the affair, the betrayal, and the professional misconduct. Nothing vulgar. Just facts. I handed it to the friend sitting closest. Pass it around, I said. Consider it. The director's cut. Mouths fell open. Some guests tried to stop reading. Most didn't. Nobody touched dessert. Caroline wasn't there, of course. She hadn't been invited. But by morning, she'd heard about it from no less than 4 people. She sent me a long email. Subject line, why would you humiliate me? I replied, I didn't humiliate you. You did that yourself. I just turned the lights on. Months passed. The echoes faded. I remodeled the bedroom. New paint, new furniture, new memories. Burned what needed burning, donated the rest. The company flourished. Turns out, when you remove a liability disguised as a visionary, things move faster. Johnny, the PI, got a bottle of top-shelf bourbon from me and a quiet nod. As for love, I wasn't looking. But then again, life tends to show up unannounced. Her name was Lauren. She worked at a nonprofit downtown. Met her through a mutual client. She didn't come with fireworks or a tragic backstory. She just came with honesty. When I told her the truth, condensed, cleaned up, she didn't flinch. I'd rather be with someone who knows how to rebuild, she said, than someone who never learned how to lose. Didn't take long for her to meet the quiet version of me, the one who still sipped his coffee like it was armor. And she never once asked me to be louder. She just listened. And over time, I didn't need to whisper anymore. People think revenge is fire, drama, explosions. It's not. It's peace. It's clarity. It's watching the person who broke you slowly realize they didn't just lose your love, they lost access to your life. Ryan moved away. Caroline tried to rebrand herself as a life coach, which is ironic considering she couldn't coach her way out of her own bad decisions. I heard through the grapevine that she reached out to a mutual friend last month. Asked how I was doing. They say he looks happier, she'd muttered. Like none of it touched him. I smiled when I heard that. Because that's the final move, isn't it? Not making them feel pain. Making them feel irrelevant. They burned the bridge thinking I'd drown. But I learned to swim. And now? Now I'm building bridges somewhere better. Somewhere she'll never reach.